this being tax day, I don't want to bum you out. Hopefully you paid your taxes. You didn't wince too much. But it's interesting. We talk about a little bit more than an $18 trillion debt. Do you know that is the amount of taxes folks have paid since Barack Obama became president? Now, it's a startling figure, but the fact of the matter is it works out to more than $124,000 per U.S. worker, per job. And that's not the half of it. So you think with all that money coming in, we'd at least be able to take this debt and pay a little bit of it off. Terry Jeffrey says that's not happening, though. Why not, Terry?
Well, Neil, because at the same time, Barack Obama has taken in $18.7 trillion in taxes. As you said, that's $124,000 for every person in the United States who has a full or part-time job. Over that same exact period, he's borrowed an additional $8.6 trillion, or $57,000, in the name of every person in the United States. So you're talking about $181,000 net for every single person in the country with a job, and we're on a trajectory to get even worse as we go ahead.
You know, Terry, I've always said that we don't have a revenue problem here. In other words, we get a lot of money coming in. We're just off a record month for tax money that's come into Uncle Sam and a record fiscal quarter. Having said that, though, we find an unusual way of willingly spending all that money and then demanding more. And I wish there could be, in both parties, an accounting for that money before they talk about raising taxes a penny on anyone. But they don't.
Well, I wish there could. Historically, over the last 50 years, the federal government took in about 17.4% of GDP in taxes. In the next 10 years, it's never going to go below 18%, yet spending is going to go up to 23% of GDP by 10 years from now. And, Neil, that's being driven by federal programs like Medicare and Social Security that the politicians don't want to cut, Medicaid that was expanded by Obamacare, and what we're going to see in the future is interest on all this money that we've borrowed. Right now we have a very low interest rate, an average of about 2% on the publicly traded debt of the United States. That's going to go up as that publicly traded debt goes up. Eventually we're going to have a federal government that's paying about $1 trillion a year in cash out the door just in interest on the debt. That's where we're going.
Amazing. The argument is, and I've even written very erudite columnists who've pointed out, well, you know, it's a big deal, but we always get through it. And they just say it's money we owe ourselves, so everyone take a chill pill. Whatever. When I hear people calmly dismissing that larger figure, I get worried. And I also get worried that in an election that I think is going to be about government, whether you want more of it or less of it, a lot of people are clamoring for a lot more. They like what they see, and they want to see a lot more.
There's no doubt there are cultural and demographic dynamics under this. In my view, back in the 1930s, America started moving from a country where people were self-sufficient and individually reliant. We started creating a welfare state. Now the bill is coming due on that welfare state as the baby boom generation is retiring. And Neil, at the same time the baby boom generation is retiring, so the Social Security and Medicare rolls are swelling.
Yeah.
People who are in the non-retirement age brackets are going on food stamps, they're going on disability. We've created a mentality where people think, well, wait a minute, I don't have to work. I can drop out of the labor force.
By the way, and everyone, to your point, is that the government problem? I mean, even Wall Street, a rich one, shall we say, to preach, since it was the beneficiary of multiple bailouts. So I often think, who are they to judge? Having said all of the above, though, we are in a world of indebted hurt here, and people just sort of whistle past the graveyard.
It's a reality, and we have to discuss it as a nation, and if we don't do something about it, we're headed towards a crisis. And in my view, Neil, when that crisis hits, it's not just going to be a fiscal crisis for the federal government.
Oh, no.
It's going to be a cultural crisis for the country, because I said this debt in this government is built on cultural changes that have been built in part by the proliferation of a federal welfare state.
You are absolutely
over decades.
right. And for all involved, and all parties have to start getting involved. Very, very good insight on all of this, Terry. Thank you very, very much.